Alright, welcome back to Ramen Spot. So today we're gonna talk about how I built my ice character. Ice, the character I've been trying to play with this whole time. Just I want all the ice. You know what I mean? So there isn't. Even with scribing and with subclassing, there still isn't an overabundance of ice. You know what I mean? Also, I built it because I did not want to use, I didn't want to use a standard mage, so I don't have a destruction staff. I wanted to use, really, I think the most fun weapon to use in this game, which is the two-hander, the two-handed sword. So I can't use the most powerful ice spell, which is still, Wall of Elements, probably. This is an Oak and Soul build with only one bar, so don't really have that many skills to use in the first place. So if you want to change it up and you want to make a build that has two bars, that's what I'd recommend. Use on that second bar, use an ice staff. Definitely use Wall of Elements, and definitely use one of the skills I'm going to talk about later, because it's much more powerful when using ice staff to cast it as opposed to anything else. But I am a fan of hybrid builds. I'm glad that ESO made the effort to bring hybrid builds into the game to where you won't be punished for wanting to use something that uses stamina and also something that uses magicka. Your character stats, spell and weapon damage are the same no matter if you put all your points in the stamina like I do, or you put them all in the magicka. Your spell and weapon damage will be the same. So I've taken the Thief Mundus. Doesn't need more critical. Like I said, I have the Oak and Soul ring, which gives me pretty much every minor and some of the major buffs in the game. The Oak and Soul ring is great if you want to keep things simple, but it's not always the best choice. So don't think you have to have it. So let's start off with the gear. Alright, so I'm using Tideborn for 5 pieces. The Tideborn is the new set. Comes from Solstice. If you're on console, it just dropped like a couple days ago. Gives you, on the 2-piece, gives you 129 weapon and spell damage. 3-piece gives you a little bit of crit chance. 4-piece gives you a little bit of offensive penetration, which is great. As a solo player, which is usually what you're building your character for, if you're using an Oak and Soul build, you're trying to get simple and you're trying to, just play 99% of the game with no problem. You need offensive penetration in order to cut through some of the enemy's armor, which is not something, it's something that usually your tank would do for you, sometimes your healer would do for you. But since you don't have that, being able to cut through some of that armor on your own is great. And then on the 5-piece, increase your direct damage done to monsters by 12%, which is great. If you're wondering why I don't use one of the sets that directly buff frost damage, is because if you look at them, most of them don't directly buff by 12%. They might buff, 10%. Or there's the Frostbite set, which, it might say direct, buff your damage to chill monsters by like 8% or something like that. It's great, but this number is higher. It might be only to direct damage, but as you can see, our other set is going to take care of our other main way to do damage, which is damage over time. So you got your Tideborn Greatsword with the Frozen Weapon enchantment, because I got to do frost damage. Also Nirnhoned, just to bump up the damage even more. Alright, Ice Heart. Ice Heart won't be active because we're using Oak and Soul. We don't have the ability to use 2 pieces of Ice Heart. But You know, just to keep with the theme. It's Ice Heart is one of the many monster sets that offers you critical chance as a one piece, so you might as well take it. All your armor is going to be divine with max stamina and chance just to get your stamina up as high as possible, which in turn boosts your weapon and spell damage up as high as possible. And then there's the second set that we're going to use, which is Deadly. Probably saw that coming. Deadly gives you 129 weapon and spell, a line of critical chance, another line of weapon and spell damage, and then increases the damage of your damage over time and channel attacks do by 15%. So basically, all of our abilities that we're going to use either use direct damage for like the first hit and then some damage over time. You know, we don't have many channeled attacks, but that's all right. If I was any other type of, like if I was a Templar or an Arcanist, I'd definitely be doing more channel attacks, but really the Deadly Strike set is just great for pushing, you know, the combination of these two sets push most DPS damage up 15%, which is great. You know, you're not building any stacks of anything, it just keeps it nice and simple. It's not the highest damage you can achieve, obviously. It's not on the level of trial sets, but given that most people don't play that type of stuff, I don't think it really matters. So I keep Tideborn on, I get the whole set medium, but the head is heavy and the shoulders are light. That way I get the Undaunted passives, and yeah, everything else is deadly on the body. All divines, all max stamina. And then the other two pieces of Tideborn are, you know, the necklace and the ring. Also with weapon and spell damage, everything bloodthirsty. And then you got Oaken Soul. Oaken Soul is also bloodthirsty, but instead I put the tri-stat for more recoveries, but I don't really need that. I'll probably change that later. So yeah, if you don't have Oaken Soul, it's just great for making these really simple builds that are one bar. You don't like swapping bars, you want to just do your damage and be done with it. You don't, you know, maybe you're playing solo, you don't have anybody to give you all the buffs, or you don't want to carry a whole bunch of skills that don't do anything but just to buff you. Well, Oaken Soul can do all that buffing on its own. But in exchange, you only get to carry 5 skills, which is not a lot. So let's go over that. So let's go over champions first. So on the champions, remember that our 2 sets are really giving us buffs to direct damage and damage over time. So we are running Thaumaturge, increasing more damage over time damage. Master at Arms, increasing even more direct damage. Fighting Fitness, increasing more crit. And then Deadly Aim, increasing more direct damage. And then, you know, the rest of them for the red and green, basically run whatever you want. Skills. Like I said, there isn't enough skills to really, you know, for you to have that many options here, but you do have options. On ultimates, I like Ice Comet because bam, hits you right there, 21,000. You know, if you're fighting your friend and he hasn't learned how to, you know, how to build properly for PvP, bam, instant death, kill him, collect the money, be out. You know what I mean? And then plus they take another 13 seconds of damage over time with Frost, which is great. You know, but if you want a different option, Northern Storm is great. You know, I took it from the Warden skill line. Follows you around doing an insane amount of frost damage, slowing the enemies and increasing the damage, you know, every second for 12 seconds. It's great, especially in PvP. But if you want to knock something out for big damage in one hit, Ice Comet's the way to go. Then probably the key ability for any kind of ice build in this game is Winter's Revenge. You know, you want to conjure the icy shards, just ice spikes. You know, they come out the ground. They're like caltrops. The enemies are on them. They get slowed, and they get dealt frost damage every second for 12 seconds. It should just always be on the ground, always chilling the enemies. They'll freeze. They'll take more damage. They'll take more crit damage. It's the best. However, if you were to cast this while you have a destruction staff, it's 30% stronger, which is a big reason to have a destruction staff if you want to roll like that, you know. And that crab is working them people back there. Oh no. All right. So next one is Arctic Blast. So this is another one I took from the Warden. It's the other offensive. It's both offensive and defensive for frost damage. So you spin the cold wind around you. You do a direct 8,446 frost damage, and if no enemies are hit, you get, you know, basically half your health back. And then 20 seconds, the winds then still do 1,600 frost damage every 2 seconds, applying more chill, letting you do more damage, stuns enemies. It's just, you can't really get any better than that. It's a great heal if you need it. It's a great, you know, just damage over time, following you around. Any enemy you're close enough to hit with your sword is also going to get hit with that. So it's great. Executioner, this is my spammable. This is what I'm going to hit people with all day long. It gets stronger all the way from 100% all the way down to when they're dead, because they're bloodthirsty and because it itself is an execute, which goes up to 400% more damage as the enemies get lower in health. So it's great. It doesn't cost much. Just hit them with it over and over again. It's easy. Frost damage is coming out of the sword. It's great. Alright. Then there's Chilling Soul. This is something you can make through scribing. It's probably, for what I do, probably the best scribing skill for the way that I built this character. Deals just a burst of, 10,000 frost damage right off the bat. Deals another 10,000 frost damage over time for the next 10 seconds. And then reduces the enemy's physical and spell resistance for 10 seconds. Meaning that offensive penetration that you need to break through all that armor and do more damage, that's right there. So when I go into a fight, I'm trying to hit them with Chilling Soul right off the bat, break down their armor. Then I put the Winter's Revenge on them. I put Arctic Blast on myself, and then I just start swinging with Execution. Now, until I get another ice spell to go here, I'm just using Vigor, so that if, for some reason, I need a burst of health, then I just hit Vigor. Because right now, I don't really have another big option that needs to go here. Also use Repentance. If you don't know Repentance, there's corpses all over the ground from you killing enemies. You can just slurp up all those corpses. You will heal yourself and refill your stamina for 3,000 apiece for every corpse nearby. It is outstanding. No problem. Now, there are other defensive ice spells, like, putting the ice on yourself for ice armor, but you don't really need this because of all the defense you get from running Oaken Soul in the first place. Same thing with this crystallized shield. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just you don't really need it. But you have more options if you run a ice staff than you do if you run a sword. But there isn't that many ice spells in the game to begin with. But hopefully, as time goes on and the scribing system gets more mature, when they add more spells to it, you know, that's more options that I can add frost to, and just I'll have more options there. Alright, so yeah, if you want to copy this build and just, you know what I mean, be pro ice, it's up to you. Change it as much as you want. Don't do Oaken Soul if you want to do, you know, you want to be more versatile and have 2 bars. But yeah, I do want to see and hear about the cool builds you guys are coming up with too. But I'm about to go, you know, put on these winter winds and go hit somebody with this reverse slash. So I'll catch y'all later. Peace.